Is the cat dead or alive? Yes, I'm referring to Schrodinger's example about the so-called experiment. It wasn't really an experiment about the cat and the quantum. He used this cat example, which I'm sure you are all familiar with, as a model to demonstrate the quantum reality. And one of the problems we are facing is that we still have got great difficulty in grasping what the quantum reality actually is and how it manifests in our daily lives. Now, I could actually say to you the reality you are living at the moment is the best and admittedly uncomfortable demonstration of the quantum field. So what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is the narrowing of the veils, the narrowing of the differentiations where we have in the three-dimensional world. Everything is solid, everything is mechanical, everything follows in a linear order. There is in the quantum, there is no such thing as order in the sense as we are used to it as so-called three-dimensional beings. So really the quantum affords us a much wider perspective of the potential that exists in the larger realm of existence. Now, we find it impossible to deal with potential because we look at reality, it's solid, and let's face it, it's very, very dense at the moment, and we think, okay, this is it. So we jump to conclusions. This is never going to end. The virus situation, if you believe it exists, but that's not the subject of this little video here, then it'll be here forever. Then you have another broader, more expansive perspective that sees beyond this reality and asks questions. What if there is another possibility? Now, asking the question, of course, is an absolute necessity if you want to get beyond your existing reality, because in the field of potentiality, the cat literally is both dead and alive, or shall we say, it can be either dead or alive, because you have several realities existing as potential, possibly as much as an infinite number of realities existing in the field. Now, then the big question becomes this. So if I see today a world of basically very unpleasant experiences and many disasters happening every day, or so it appears, because most people believe what they see on the news. So then the question becomes this: how do I move from this potential where I see many people are sick, that we are having ever increasing restrictions placed upon our lives by a what appears to be a very, very brutal authority where we are at the mercy thereof. So that is the appearance to the three-dimensional mind. So then, as I say, the question is, how do I get beyond it? Well, here is the thing. You create in your mind beliefs in two ways. The first one is the level of your cognitive development or your evolutionary development, and depending on where you reside on the Kubler-Ross scale, you will view your reality in a certain way. So if you are, for example, residing in the more advanced cognitive development levels, you will have a very, very different view from the majority of people who are in what is called the um, operational level of where you are just seeing things as they are today. So the concrete operational level is exactly as I just said. It sees everything as solid, sees everything as written in stone, and therefore one is so immersed in that reality there cannot be anything else. Right now, that's, well, pretty scary if you live in that world, and over 70% of the people do reside in this world. It's not a pretty place to be. And this is, of course, where you are an easy target for incorrect information about what is going on in the world, incorrect information about the financial system, incorrect information about a company's balance sheets, incorrect information about what constitutes your health and your own healing abilities, your own body's ability at homeostasis, and shall we say, actually, the universe's ability at homeostasis. Now, if you move up in the from the concrete operational level to the next level, that view starts to loosen. In other words, the density, the concrete element of your reality begins to literally feel less concrete. It's begin to dissolve. And this is when you start asking questions. Well, what if this is incorrect? What if something else would be possible for me? It is a wonderful question. I have developed a program, if you like, around getting into that question, which is in the freedom from the matrix, which leads you to a point where you are not only questioning your reality through information, through new information, but also by learning to access different modalities. And when you learn to access different modalities beyond the concrete operational dominant operating system, you are simultaneously expanding not just your own reality, but you're also advancing your evolution. And all of a sudden, you become to you come to contemplate the idea rather that now the cat isn't either dead or alive. The cat could potentially be either dead or alive, and that depends totally on the vantage point from which I am looking at things. On the one hand, that's my evolutionary development level, and then of course it depends on what I am able to intellectually, mentally, physically, and emotionally able to take on board of information. Now, the information field potentially is infinite. In the quantum perspective, from the quantum perspective, it's just we are looking at infinite possibility. It's hard for the linear mind to grasp, and even harder for a psychotic linear mind to grasp. And many people are in total fight or flight response and in total fear, and that dumbs you down and that stops your ability to advance and does exactly the reverse. You get closer and closer back into your box, and you only live from the past. And we're seeing this happening every day wherever you look. People are saying, oh, I remember what happened in the Second World War, or I may even remember what my grandfather told me about the First World War, and everything is repeating, only this time it's 10 times worse. Many narratives are built on that perspective. And then you have the other narratives. There are certain military personnel who are coming out and telling you, okay, the universe is such and such, and the Space Force is such and such, and is only designed to do blah blah. Well, they may be right, because this is what they have been shown. This is what they therefore for belief, because they are still very much in the concrete operational model without realizing it. By the way, you will not realize that you are there, because whilst you are in it, you are immersed in it, and you really have to get out of it onto the next advanced level of your evolutionary stages, so that you can actually see where you are residing, where you can actually begin to see, there is a difference between this viewpoint, the Space Force is such and such, versus could it be something else? Is there something else possible? Might it have been developed with something entirely different in mind? Only because somebody gets on television and says, with an identity as in, the military, and by the way, nothing against the military, this is not about judgment, this is just trying to demonstrate to you something which will help you in these times of massive change, to see how your operating system functions. So the military guy in a certain position with a certain experience sees that. Then there is the person who has been involved in the development side of things, may have seen the plans, may have been there at the beginning of the planning of all this, where there is perhaps a certain vision involved, where they just see the vision of what we might view. These people will have a very, very different perspective and a very different point of view. Now, us as individuals who are neither in the military, well, I am certainly not, maybe many of you are who are watching this, and I am certainly not involved, was not involved in the development of the Space Force program. So I can only go by prima facie evidence. That's what my linear mind only does. But of course, the linear mind is very limited. It can only see what appears to be there. And what appears to be there is a tiny, tiny part of the picture. So therefore, we need to work with everything we have at our disposal on advancing our evolution. Now, guess what? And this is the beauty about just considering it. If you are still listening to this video here, I trust you are considering that maybe I have something valuable to say to you here, and that may speak to you. Well, yes, okay, the cat could be dead or alive. That depends on my point of view. It depends on my ability to be mentally nimble, to open my mind and consider another viewpoint beyond the viewpoint that is being pushed continuously in front of me, so that I remain in a certain belief. Now, you do not want to remain in a certain belief. In fact, you don't necessarily want to remain in any belief, but you certainly want to be open to learn about as many different perspectives as possible. That's the intellectual side of it. So you open yourself up to understanding that there is a new history, alternative history, call it whatever you like. These are just words, and we don't at this moment, for the sake of this discussion, give these words any meaning. We are just using them as a tool of communication, so that we are all on the same wavelength. So, okay, let's call it alternative history without giving it any value, any judgment. So this is where we want to go and look. It's the same about the financial system. We go and look somewhere else. You see, this is how I spend my time. I do a lot of research. I look at alternatives. And the way it works for me, I have an intuition. Because I meditate a lot. By the way, meditation, a wonderful, wonderful tool to get yourself out of the box and really understand that the principle, the idea of contemplating that the cat can be either alive or dead, or maybe even both alive and dead, because both possibilities exist in the field. And if I train my mind, something magical happens, because now I can start to explore other frontiers. This is what our reality at the moment, as we are experiencing it, all of us experiencing it, is all about. It is a tool, if we know how to use it, that can lead us to move beyond our own limitations, that will enable us to move onto the next level of our evolution, and more so because we have got as potential the quantum leap in our evolution before us. That potential exists for every single one of us. The level of probability, so how likely is it that you are going to make that jump to a much more exciting, much more expanded future? Well, that depends solely on your ability, willingness, openness to embrace something that is presently perhaps outside your grasp. Um, and again, if you are still watching this video, so you're obviously understanding that I am sharing something here that is of value, because why otherwise waste your time listening to me? And if you can embrace that, you are perfectly placed to take the next step, which gets you out of the matrix. So, and that is more education, not in the conventional sense, but learning things, which is incidentally incredibly good for your brain, and then going the next mile, saying, okay, now, I have opened my mind and understand that rather than sitting, taking on board what I'm told, being scared and getting more scared and getting into more brain incoherence, now is the time that I really must do something else. So I've mentioned meditation. Meditation is a wonderful, wonderful tool, and it will stand you in excellent stead to advance your entire being into an abundance of what really is available in the universe, which you are not using at the moment. Certainly not whilst you are in fear and buying into doom and gloom. And believe you me, at the moment, everything is being done to keep you in that frequency band. So you have to push a little bit harder. And when I say push harder, that is just, it's a mental thing, having the determination to find another way, go that extra mile, to do something different, to get you beyond that space so that you can get back into a beingness where you can see your own creativity, you can generate joy again, where you can generate other potentials than the projection which is out there being thrown at you all the time. So yes, the cat is both dead and alive, and guess what? You get to choose it. Now, in closing this video, just one point here in the quantum, where you get to choose what you like to see, and then you have to align with that from an energy frequency point of view, with that new belief, and then the universe will bring it to you in its way, according to its laws, not your laws, not the laws of some authority around here. And that is the other big thing people have got huge difficulty to get. So but it can be done if you are willing to, and if you are, why not sign up to my newsletter and get access to some interesting webinars. And well, I feel quite confident, if this speaks to you, you might find out some very, very interesting things. Now, thank you for bearing with me, watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it or share it, and sign up to my newsletter and check out the products which are in the link below. Thank you.